Welcome to another episode of Golden Nuggets, Tips and Tales powered by Property Finder, bringing you real tools, real tactics, and real talk from the region's top real estate professionals. Stay tuned for practical, no fluff advice, because behind every great listing is an agent armed with top tips and powerful takeaways you won't want to miss. Today, I'm joined by Clementine Munro, who is the sales director at Haus Haus, and we're going to talk about what it's like being on the other side of the transaction and how that might help our careers, the way we coach, the way we train, the way we deliver service, because you become the client many times. Do you want to just talk us through your home purchasing experience?
So actually, probably how my husband and I have made most of our money is by flipping.
Mm-hmm.
So we have
flippers.
done flippers. So we've done 7 and we are just about shell and core stage of our 8th, which will be hopefully our forever
home.
Or 15-year at least home.
All in Dubai?
All in Dubai.
Okay. And has that been difficult for you knowing how it should be done? Do you feel like you have much higher standards when it comes to selecting the agent, or when you're going on viewings, or when they ask you certain questions, you're like, don't try and close me. How does it affect you?
Do you know what? Salespeople love being sold to. I'm the worst. I have to get my husband involved, because or else I'll be like, yeah, honey, this is the asking price. There's someone coming at 4. But do you know what? I've done most of our acquisitions and disposals through people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, I haven't really actually had any horror stories.
Right.
And I've always quite enjoyed the process. But definitely that I'm in a team, because if I was doing it on my own,
Mm-hmm.
it would be
a bit too much.
A bit too, yeah.
Me as a landlord, so I haven't sold any properties yet. I've bought.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed was I don't really negotiate for myself.
No.
Like, the asking price is the asking price, and I feel like I will respect that price, as I would want it to be respected. And equally, as a landlord, which I am now, I've got like a different, you'd think, oh, having all this experience in property management, I'd be getting the highest possible rent on the market. But actually, my strategy is slightly different. I like giving my tenants a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And telling them, I'm not in the country, which I'm not, because all my properties are in London. I'm not in the country. I want you to treat this property like it's your own. Yeah. You're going to get a good rent, but don't call me for nonsense.
For sure.
Right? Just handle it. And as a result, actually, I end up getting tenants that stay 3 years at a time, 5 years at a time. And I never hear a peep out of them. But I feel like my friends or anyone that I know who's always got top dollar for their property or for their rental, they're being bombarded with calls and complaints and issues. Because I think as a tenant, when you feel like you're paying top dollar, you expect a certain standard. But when you know you've got a deal, you kind of go easier on your landlord.
And I think the best piece of deal advice I've been given is by a gentleman called Andy Love, who does probably the number 1 commercial agent in Dubai. And he said to me, always leave some meat on the bones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so natural to want to get everything at the best price or sell. And I think the reality is a good deal for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's okay sometimes to walk away thinking, I could have got more. Or I could always leave some meat on the bones.
What does that mean? Explain it.
I think that means not always trying to squeeze everyone for every single thing they're worth on both sides of the transactions.
Right.
I think it's natural to want to buy cheap, sell high. But the reality is often that comes at the cost of the kind of the aroma of the deal, if you know what I mean.
Word, yeah.
And I think, then you meet at transfer and you think, was it really necessary? I wasn't a very nice person to get that extra 20k off. And then you get there. So I think always, not feeling that kind of it's going to be a good deal or a bad deal based on the fact that you got it at X price. I think being flexible and recognizing that it is quite hard to even come to the pricing is very subjective in this part of the world. But he obviously has done a tremendous amount of deals. And
Shout out to Andy Love, also another Property Finder super agent.
he is.
And talk us through your latest home purchase, assuming you bought that through House House.
I did buy that through House House. And that is absolutely one of the joys, actually, of being in an agency. My husband might say one of the cons, because we were very happy in what we thought would be a forever home. We'd been in it less than 3 years. But I had a colleague come up to me, one of our team leaders, and she said, could I have a premium listing on Property Finder for this fabulous new home I've got? It's mine exclusively, and I'm sure I'll sell it this weekend. It's priced well, and it's this. And I was like, oh, that's my dream home.
Right.
And I said, can we see it this weekend before it,
Before I approve the premium.
Before it goes online. The strategy was always before it goes online to try and sell it internally.
Yeah.
So I went down with a couple of other families and had a look. And I'm kind of elbowing my husband as we're walking around, being like, this is it. We actually paid over asking price in the end. There was a couple of people interested, and it just came down to best and not best and finals, actually. It just came, we decided to chip by an extra quarter in order to secure it. And it was probably the best decision ever. We then had a nerve-wracking period where we signed to buy a new house before we'd sold our old house.
Oh, yeah.
And again, had a very hairy 6 weeks where we had to sell and receive the funds in order to purchase our next house. But that's where it comes with working with the best agents in the market. Really trusting that they were going to be able to manage that for us, and it happened.
And do you think, because it's quite common in the UK, that whole chain building, but building chains is not, I don't really see it much here.
Do you know, we do it quite a lot at House House, but you need to have extremely able agents to do it, because the landscape here is not set up for it. So you need, I just actually helped, someone contacted me off a Facebook group the other day for some help. Because they'd been shafted, and I read the contract, and it was terrible. And she's completely exposed to lose the 10% because the other house didn't sell.
Right.
So we do it often, but we're really thorough in how we do all of our contracts and clauses, so that everyone's fully informed of what it's going to look like, and everyone has ample opportunity to exit from the deal should the timeline change too much.
So just to explain for people that might not understand what a chain building is when you've got a chain of home sellers and home buyers all needing to sell their property to facilitate their onward purchase. And in the UK, it's very common at the bottom of the chain will be a first-time buyer. So they're flexible. Well, not always, actually. They might be in rented accommodation and have a deadline. And then the person up the chain is selling to buy their next property. And actually, sometimes you can have 5, 6 deep in the chain. And if one of them falls down, crumbles the whole chain for everybody else. And that's where it's important to make sure that contracts reflect that if there is a chain situation, or you're not, if you don't complete in time, you don't lose your 10%.
We also have 150 agents, and we had it the other day where one component of the chain fell apart, but we were able to actually slide in another buyer, so it didn't affect it in the end. But again, that's where you need to have area managers who are really focused. They know exactly what's happening in their team, and they're constantly thinking, if this was to go a little bit left, have I got someone here? And that kind of being able to be really dynamic and be a bit of a kind of puppet master and just make sure that you know exactly what's going on below.
Yeah. And I think you touched on 2 things, and that's 2 myths that we can bust right now. One is that premium listings tend to be premium as in out of touch, out of range, the most expensive. And actually it's not, because agents have to come to their line managers and justify why this property why that the brokerage should invest in a premium. So what's your criteria for approving a premium listing?
Great question. We have a lot of exclusivity. But that doesn't necessarily always mean you do a premium, because if it's yours anyway, does it need to be seen higher up? Normally things that are very well priced. Perhaps something looks aesthetically really beautiful and we think it'll drive leads and we can use it as an opportunity to cross-sell. If perhaps we've had it exclusive and it isn't showing after a week or so, we're not getting the inquiries, then we may suggest exclusivity.
A boost,
If we're always in partnership with our sellers. So if we are requesting a price realignment in order to be more reflective of where the market's at. We might marry that with a featured or a premium just to show we've got skin in the game as well.
Yeah.
You know, we're partnering with you to try and sell your home.
And the second myth is the listing price is the highest price you can achieve. And in your example, you paid over the asking price.
And we sold our house for over the asking price.
Right. So what is that about? What's that little tip? What's the hidden tip there?
I think if you put your home on the market at a price that is incredibly high, people naturally assume, oh, I like it, but I'm going to offer what I think it's worth. The same way that you buy, you come to a conclusion of what's sold, what's available, and what do I think this property is worth. It's the same journey, obviously, when you're looking to buy. So I think when sellers put it on too high, it actually deters people. Then they're really struggling to assess the true value. We definitely, and this is demonstrated by both of these at Haus Haus, like to put properties on for the price that they are worth. Perhaps factoring in a little bit of margin in terms of naturally people like to come in under. But in this instance, it was a great house, well priced, and we probably got more. I certainly know we sold our house for more than I think it was worth because we had priced it fairly. So we had 3 or 4 families interested in it, and therefore we just did sealed bids. But that takes, again, a very able agent to be able to navigate that process.
And do they arrange for those 3 families to come around about the same time to view it?
I think
like open houses.
Yeah, that can be a good strategy, exactly. And particularly because we have kids and dogs. It's like, how can we get everyone out of the house, get the house looking good, you know, light a couple of candles, puff up a couple of cushions. Naturally, if you can present your house better and the homeowners are not in there loitering around so that people feel really comfortable to explore.
Another tip.
Yes, please. If possible, homeowner.
Don't be there.
Don't be there.
Why?
I think it can just be, you always are more emotionally invested in your home than someone who's just seen it for the first time. And I think it can be a bit off-putting for the potential customer when they're kind of being shown, you know, your something that you lovingly painted a wall or you lovingly laid some floor with your bare hands. But I think it can be just a little bit off-putting. And I think everyone makes clearer decisions when they're
that freedom,
a bit calmer. And even simply put, if your whole family's in there, it can look smaller.
True.
So if you can just make everything nice and calm, nice and cool as we get into the summer, please keep your AC on so the home is nice and cool. Gives people a better opportunity to get a feel of the home.
Because you cannot handle the feedback.
No, you
won't be able to handle the feedback.
My husband was the worst. He'd just built a gym in our house. And the fact one agent missed it out and he called me and was like, the agent didn't. And I'm like, right, okay. And he said, get them back round. I'm like, I'm not going to get them back round.
To see the gym.
But yeah, I think, you know, he's put a tremendous amount into our home. And exactly, you want people to see it how you see it.
And they want to feel like they can open up the fridge and so on. But if the owner's there, I'm not going to open up the fridge. In fact, I'm probably not even going to open up the cupboards to see how large the space is. So yeah, homeowners and tenants. Don't be there. Tenants use it as their venting opportunity.
Yes, to the agent.
To the agent. Oh, just coincidentally, it happens to be in front of a prospective tenant. But yeah, so tenants and homeowners, please do not be present for viewings. All right. Well, thank you. There are loads of tips in that one and a few tales. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Catch the rest of Clementine's episodes. And while you're at it, why not binge the whole season?